Hello everyone, I am back once again, and this is going to be another Wi-Fi match for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And this is going to be a rematch against Devin from the last video, specifically because in the first match he actually pulled a Skyrander on me and actually went with a low tier team. So because of that, I decided to just, rematch him this time because, he wanted a rematch. So I was just like, sure. I did offer Skyrander a rematch, so, I mean, if I was able to offer him a rematch, why not rematch this guy who actually wants a rematch? So I'm just like, okay. However, this time I'm actually going to use a lower tier team myself, and it's going to be this Yu team that you see right here. This is a team that I actually made a while ago in preparation for Yu matches. However, the problem is just that nobody was willing to do Yu matches with me. So yeah, this team is just like I made it for nothing almost, basically. I'm going to be using it in this match, however. And my opponent, interestingly enough, actually does have a very interesting team. For me, personally, it was scary. However, I didn't know until after the match that this was actually supposed to be a theme team. And this team in particular is supposed to be what he calls a four-legged team. Because, all of his Pokemon are on all fours. So, yeah. But at the time, I wasn't really thinking about theme teams or anything like that. I was just thinking of, like, how am I going to win this, honestly? What's scary on his team? For me, the scary mons on his team is the Raikou, the Houndoom, and the Glaceon, just because they all hit pretty hard, and two of them can actually set up too, honestly. So, that is scary, honestly, despite it being a four-legged team or whatever. So, yeah. Anyways, now here, I'm going to lead off with the Rotom, and the reason I did this was because the intention here was to actually Volt Switch here if the matchup was unfavorable. And turns out I actually don't have Volt Switch on this Rotom, so because of that, now I actually have to think about what I want to do here. Do I want to set up Nasty Plus and start attacking this thing, or should I just attack this thing head on just to get some form of damage, because I can't really do much with this Houndoom if it starts to set up Nasty Plots, and it would be nice to just get the damage off before it starts to get away with too much, honestly. So because of that, I just ultimately went for the Thunderbolt here, and he's going to go for the Dark Pulse with this thing, and it is a 2-hit KO, unfortunately. Fortunately, though, I don't flinch, so I at least get the damage off on this thing with Thunderbolt. It's not a 2-hit KO on my end, but it doesn't really matter that much since I am going to go down in the next Dark Pulse as well anyway. Now here I was just looking at my team to see what options I have after I lose this Rotom. So yeah, here I'm just going to lose the Rotom to another Dark Pulse, and down goes the Rotom, which is unfortunate because, yeah, no, I led with this thing thinking I had Volt Switch, and I just didn't have it, honestly. It's because his team doesn't have Volt Switch immunity, so I figured, you know what, I could probably use this just to pivot around, depending on the matchup, and, I didn't have it, so. And this matchup was not necessarily bad, but I think given the set that I had on this Rotom, it wasn't really good either, honestly. So, yeah, rip me on that front. Anyways, I'm going to send out Machamp now. Now, it was actually at this very moment that I actually realized that his team actually doesn't appreciate Machamp, actually. And I think he knew this as well, but because of that, for some reason, he actually ends up sending in the Raikou, which is not a good play in my opinion. And I'll explain why. Because the majority of his team already doesn't appreciate Dynamic Punch from Machamp. So because of that, I don't see why he would want to let his only mon that can at least take one of these Dynamic Punches to take the damage. Because not only is he going to be bound to confusion, potential confusion hacks I should say, but now he actually has this thing crippled that if he takes out my Machamp somehow, he'll actually get revenge KO'd with literally anything that I have on my team. So this was a bad switch. Given that his team didn't appreciate Dynamic Punch from the get-go, he should have just let one of his more disposable mons go down. But Raikou was actually one of his more valuable mons in my opinion. So because of that, I actually, that wasn't a good play, honestly. He should have actually saved this, like he should have sent this in safely, honestly, against Machamp. Preferably after taking some damage. Maybe stay in with the Houndoom and just go for like Flamethrower or something. Or if it's choice, just go for Dark Pulse again just to get some damage. And then if he has extra sensory on this, he can just like, do some other stuff. But anyways, here, yeah, obviously I sent in the Mew, obviously, because, I didn't want to deal with the shenanigans from Raikou after getting the Dynamic Punch off. And he went for both, I think, both screens basically, instead of like anything like extra sensory or even Calm Mind, which was something I was fearing, and I did get my rocks up in the process. I think he hurt himself as well in the confusion hacks, and I finally just go for the Volt Switch here just to get a safe switch into Sharpedo. All of this was just basically to kind of like stall out at least the reflect turns, honestly, just because I did send in Sharpedo right here, honestly, and I do want to get this thing going if I can, honestly. So, yeah. Here he's going to try to go for Volt Switch, but I went for the Protect to see if he was actually going to go for that, or any electrical move for that matter, and that's exactly what he did. But now I'm going to go for the Crunch, because I want to finish this thing off, and see what else he's going to try to send in afterwards, which is nice. Crunch is a cool move on Sharpedo, by the way. I thought I'd let you guys know that once more, just because, yeah, it's a cool move on Sharpedo. As you can see, I think that was the Reflect turns, I believe. The Reflect, yeah, that wore off finally. But now he's gonna send in this Glaceon. Now I am fully aware now that the Glaceon does in fact get Freeze Dry. However, I wasn't sure if my opponent here actually knew that, and if he has it on his Glaceon, honestly. So I was looking at my team here to see if I wanted to switch anything in. Nothing appreciates the Glaceon, so I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna Protect to see if it has Freeze Dry, because if it doesn't have Freeze Dry, I could just stay in and just go for Waterfalls, hope for flinches, and if I flinch, then maybe even like 2-hit KO this thing, depending on the set, you know. He does go for the Freeze Dry right here, as you saw. So because of that, now I'm thinking, okay, I am gonna switch out, and I'm gonna have to switch into Mew, since that's the only thing I have on this team that appreciates the Freeze Dry, or at least can take it very well. It doesn't appreciate it by any means, but it does take it much better than anything else on my team. And I don't want my matchup to take unnecessary damage, since that mon is actually key in this matchup, honestly, in this team that he has, honestly, overall. So yeah, Light Screen is gonna wear off now, and here I wanted to go for the Volt Switch, but the thing is that if I go for Volt Switch and he doesn't switch out, nothing on my team is going to appreciate a Freeze Dry, so I just figured, okay, I'm going to just go for the Psychic and see if he stays in. Unfortunately for me, he actually doesn't end up staying in. He just goes into the Absol right here. And, yeah, this Absol is very, very scary. And again, I don't know if I can actually switch out against this Absol, because these things could have Play Rough. So if I send in Machamp to take a Dark move, I could take the Play Rough afterwards, and then I'll lose Machamp, and that would just kind of blow. So yeah, after looking at my team, I was just like, yeah, no, I can't really do anything. I don't want to send in Flygon either, honestly, because Knockoff will hurt since it's Stab on Absol. So I just stayed in and just decided to lose this Mew instead. And yeah, goes for the Knockoff, and that actually stings, honestly. But now I'm actually gonna send in the Flygon. Now I go for Flygon because I do have U-turn, and I am afraid of the Play Rough, so I don't want to send in Machamp, even though, you know, Dynamic Punch can just kind of like destroy this guy's team. If they have a Fairy type move such as Play Rough, I don't want to deal with that, obviously, so I send in Flygon. I mean, Play Rough does damage to Flygon as well, but Flygon is naturally faster than Absol, and if this thing is Scarfed, then it's locked into Knockoff, so I don't feel like I lose anything going into Flygon here. So because of that, now I'm just going to go for the U-turn here. I was looking at my team just to make sure that I didn't mess up, honestly, because, you know, I can be somewhat of a choker sometimes. So, yeah. Now here, my opponent, I think he's, like, thinking about stuff or some shit. I think he knows that he's basically in a tight situation, because he knows that this Flygon could have U-turn, probably knows that my intention is to go for it. So, yeah, I think he's just debating on what he wants to switch out. I think he just stays in. Yeah, he stays in and just loses the Absol, which is nice. This Flygon is banded, as you saw, too, so this U-turn is definitely going to do a lot of damage because it's super effective on Absol, so that's good. And now I get to send in something that isn't Flygon, because remember that he still has the Glaceon. And here, what I'm going to send in is Sharpedo, just because I want to see what he's going to send in if it's not the Glaceon. So, yeah. Here, my opponent now gets to see what I sent in, and now he's going to select them on accordingly. He actually ends up going into the Persian, which, yeah, it's kind of scary, honestly. Here, I believe I'm going to actually try to go for a Protect, because these Persians, for one thing, they're faster naturally than Sharpedo, so, and if not faster, they definitely have Fake Out, so, and I don't want this Sharpedo to take unnecessary damage, since this Sharpedo is actually a Focus Sash variant as opposed to the Life Orb variant that I also carry sometimes. And I am going to get a Speed Boost, which is nice, and as you saw, my opponent did reveal the Fake Out, so yeah, because of that, obviously, now I know that he can't go for it again, so I can just get some damage off on this thing. I'm going to go for the Waterfall here. Unfortunately, it's not enough to take it out, and he does have the Play Rough on this, so yeah. Thankfully, I'm Focus Sash, though, because, yeah, I didn't take any rocks damage. This guy didn't have rocks for this team, honestly, so that's actually really good for me. Because now my Sharpedo can just, you know, take a hit here. And unless this guy has quick attack on this Persian, there's really not much he can do, honestly. In fact, he's actually not going to have the quick attack whatsoever, and I get to just finish this thing off with a crunch, which is nice. So Sharpedo, once again, putting in work, and that's what I like to see, honestly, that Sharpedo just puts in a lot of work. Because, you know, Sharpedo's like my favorite Pokemon at this point, honestly. This mon has been like one of my favorites since when I first ran into him in Pokemon Sapphire, honestly. Particularly when Archie from Team Aqua was using him. Like, that was like one of the more badass moments in the game. But anyways, so yeah. Here he's gonna send in the Glaceon, and I was thinking, okay, this might live the waterfall, but let's see if we can actually make it flinch. No flinch needed, because actually I end up getting a crit instead, which is nice, honestly, because, you know, like, RNG is obviously bad for my opponents, obviously, but when it comes to Sharpedo, I honestly am willing to take anything. I honestly take RNG regardless, though, but, you know, on Sharpedo it just feels satisfying, honestly. Because usually, some players usually don't feel good when they win because of RNG, but for me, if it's Sharpedo that we're talking about, I don't care. I'm down to win with RNG in my favor, honestly. Plus, RNG is never in my favor almost in Generation 8, so every time it happens, I'm just like, holy damn. But anyways, he's gonna send in the Stantler now, and the Stantler, yeah, it could take out Sharpedo, and can definitely take a Waterfall, honestly. It's just gonna come down to whether or not he's gonna actually flinch or not. That's kind of one of the reasons why I just stayed in. Plus, Sharpedo's just putting in a lot of work anyway, so I just figured, why not have it take or dish out more damage, you know? And as you can see, he actually did end up flinching once again, so once again, I'm just getting kind of lucky with this Sharpedo. And the Stantler doesn't seem to have like a priority move either, honestly. So, although this thing was actually Flame Orb, so this thing might have been a quick feat set or something, honestly, which would have been scary, honestly. So thank goodness my Sharpedo already had like +3 speed or some shit with the speed boost, because otherwise this Stantler might have actually run amok, honestly. Like dead ass. It might have actually even taken out my Machamp, honestly. I don't know. But anyways, his last Pokemon is gonna be the Houndoom, and because of the rocks damage that it took, I actually really wanted to go for the crunch here. But because this Sharpedo's Jolly and Sashed and not Life Orb nor Adamant, I just figured I'm probably gonna not be able to take it out, and it's gonna take out my Sharpedo, and down goes the Sharpedo sweep. And as you saw, right now I just basically got like what I call an official Sharpedo sweep, because this time it was more than 2 months that I actually managed to finish off with Sharpedo. So this was definitely a Sharpedo sweep. This was the Sharpedo sweep for this generation, I guess you could say. But yeah, it was nice, honestly. So if I went for the crunch there and the Houndoom survived, that Sharpedo sweep would have been tarnished. It would have just ended, and then I would have just had to finish it with something else, maybe Flygon. But yeah, that's not what I wanted, honestly. When I do these matches with Sharpedo, I always try to get the Sharpedo sweep. It's not easy, obviously, but you know, that's precisely why I try my best to get it, honestly, because it's like, it's something of a sight to behold, especially nowadays, given how Mega Sharpedo is no longer a thing and whatnot. But yeah, so that's gonna be the match against Devin. Thank you for the matches, Devin. Obviously, that was interesting, honestly, to say the least. And I'm glad I actually gave him a rematch. This time he did not ask for another one, actually. So I'm good on that front, honestly. Anyway, so thank you all for watching this match. Hope to catch you guys for another one whenever I get to it. And take it easy and have yourselves a good one.